Good morning and welcome to Zed Ed Redemption, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I am your host, Jay Edgar, and I'm joined on the other side of the screen, as always, by the wonderful KTZed. KTZed, welcome back. How was your week?
It's been great. We've been getting a lot done around the house over the weekend and having a good week so far.
Yeah? I have not been having a good week so far. I have been miserable and out of it for the last 2 days, and I don't know why. So that's been fun trying to get show prep done and everything when you're like sitting in the chair wanting to just fall right back to sleep.
Yeah.
But the news stops for nobody, and we do have to continue on with this. Have you noticed how, everything in this week's show has tied into that one stupid 2 hour press conference this week?
Absolutely. It was a kind of a ridiculous press conference, so it gives us a lot of content.
Yeah, but all the COVID stuff is tied into that at this point. All the voting rights stuff tied into that, and even over the weekend, now we're getting some more stuff coming up out of the Ukraine, which that's going to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, we need a war. We need one
Apparently.
in order for the midterms to go the way some people want them to go. We need something to happen.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see what's happening with that, and especially with the military influence in your household over there. We're definitely going to get some conversation over not just what's going to happen in the European theater, but what could possibly happen in some of the other theaters around the world if the European theater takes off. I'm interested to
Absolutely.
hear what you have to say about
I guess I should have talked to my husband about it. Does
that.
that mean I have to talk to my husband?
Well, we hope that you will definitely because
For sure.
we do like both of you on this program here, but we definitely do we got to get into it here. We got to get started off of this here. Over on, wow, why can't I talk today? Over on KTZed Redemption. Thanks everybody for checking us live over on YouTube, D Live, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, wherever they broadcast that there. They tell me I'm broadcasting there. I have no idea where they're broadcasting it, but wherever they're broadcasting, we're over there. So you can check us out on all those platforms. And if you want to check us out on demand, you can find us over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Check us out on those platforms as well, on the audio platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, which I actually went in today to go start getting caught back up onto that there. And everything is trapped in processing limbo right now, too, which is all kinds of fun. So thank you, YouTube, for leaving everything in limbo for me, so I can't get anything done. I did try to get this morning's contemporary done, and it's still sitting in limbo right now. So we
Really?
can't get that onto the audio platform yet, but we will get that there eventually. We'll get that ready to go here. A lot to get to today here, as mentioned up at the top of the show. We had probably one of the bigger speeches of the Biden admin happen this week, and we'll be talking a bit about what happened there. We'll be talking about what happened there on its own, and then branching it out into a couple of other topics too. But 2 hours of press conference from a guy who craps his pants.
I couldn't believe he got through it.
I couldn't either. It was insanity. We got some clips we'll talk about it with that. We'll talk a bit about the questioning of the election, and Kamala got on Savannah Guthrie, and even Jen Psaki got into this, trying to walk all that back. So we'll talk about that. But in light of talking about the questioning of the election, we'll also be talking about the voting rights legislation. Two major voting rights bills died in the Senate this week. We'll talk a bit about what happened there. The last minute change of vote from Chuck Schumer to keep this up and there and still active in conversation. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. Plus a switch in a NASA funding bill to keep this alive and onto the floor. So we'll talk just a bit about that. And as teased at the top of the show, we'll actually be talking a bit about what's going on with the Ukraine, what's happened over the weekend, the new developments that have happened and the developments that happened over the Biden speech this week. Plus, we'll be looking into some of the other foreign theaters that are going on, Taiwan, North Korea, some of the connections there. So we'll talk just a bit about what we're seeing that. And it is going to be all this and more over on KTZed Redemption. Got some stuff to get into before we get into the main news topics of the week here. And by the way, we will take live chat in between topics. So if you have any burning questions about any of the topics, anything you want to comment on there on that, we will try to get to all the questions for sure, but even some of the comments as well. So do feel free to chat in the live chat, and we will take that up between topics here. Definitely got some stuff to catch up on too. I don't know if you saw some of the stuff that we saw over the week here, and some of the stuff that's just updates off of what we saw for this. The Texas synagogue story. Some of the details started to get released off of that. Now that was, interestingly enough, has fallen out of the news at this point. Like, everybody's completely forgotten about the fact that it even happened at this point. I don't know that I've heard a single word about this yet over the past week after they released the details off of this. But NPR starts us off today, telling us a little bit about the Texas rabbi, because he threw a chair apparently at the gunman before he and the two other hostages that were left behind had escaped. There were initially 4 hostages in the situation. One escaped at the very beginning of the hostage situation, and then the rabbi threw the chair, and then everybody else jumped out of there, and then, the FBI came in and did their thing and took off, and that was it. But what have you seen on this week so far?
I just noticed it's been very hush hush in the media, like you were saying. But I'm interested. I was looking for the live stream of it happening, and I cannot find it anywhere. I'm not sure if you've been able to see it at all, but I'd be very interested to see the live stream of when apparently they were streaming a service when it all went down. The church was streaming, and there's got to be tape of it somewhere.
Oh, there's tape of it, but I mean, Zuckerberg got rid of that as soon as possible because it was a terrorist attack, and if it's out there accessible for everybody, then I mean, they can come back out here and.
I mean, nobody died in this one, and we saw the one in Christchurch, so it's got to be somewhere. Somebody's got to have it. If anybody out there has it or has seen it, please send me a link.
Absolutely do that. Go that is at what, KTZed over on Twitter.
KTZed ma'am now. Although my old one is back now too, but they wiped it clean. So we're just going to go with KTZed ma'am on Twitter.
We might have to touch with your gain just a little bit there, because you're muting out as you hit the top of your microphone. I noticed, like, once you hit the top of your speech, it mutes a little bit. It muffles it out at the top. So,
all right, let me see if I can fix that.
We'll watch that as that goes. As we go on, looking in, Loudoun County is back in the news this week as well. A couple things developed off of this. Now, Loudoun County has been under investigation because of its withholding of the sexual assault investigation report to avoid re-traumatizing the victims. Reading just a little bit from Fox News. The Loudoun County School Board laid out on Friday a series of measures to prevent future sexual assaults and said releasing the results of its recent investigation would be illegal, as well as risk re-traumatizing those involved. Earlier this week, a judge sentenced a Loudoun County teenager charged with sexual assault at 2 separate high schools. The judge found the boy guilty on Wednesday and ordered him to register as a sex offender. We talked about this last week, of course. And something she said she had never done to a minor before. He'll be on supervised probation. We saw this. But the court went on to say, first and foremost, the report cannot be released because of the privacy of the families involved must be protected. A school board press release on Friday read, referring to the conclusion of an investigation into how it handled the 2 high-profile allegations. The national interest in the investigation would preclude any chance of allowing the families to heal in private and then move forward with dignity. The division and our board believe we must do whatever we can to avoid re-traumatizing the students. So I looked into this a little bit, and this isn't exactly uncommon because of the age of the people involved. Everybody at the time was under 15 and possibly under 14 at the time. So this isn't huge to me, but still something that that people are talking about. So what was your take off of this?
I really think that just the fact that these people, the victims, are willing to forgive this guy. I think I said this last week too, but they really need to take issues like this more seriously. The school board, the school system, every adult involved in this needs to take action to make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else. And the first way to do that is to keep the boys and the girls separated and not let just a boy who says, oh, I'm going to wear a skirt today into the ladies' restrooms. It's just kind of ridiculous. And there needs to be rules set in place for this.
You're still muting out a little bit. It was a little bit better that one through, but yeah, once you get up to the top of the volume, it drops you off and muffles it back out. So
I think if I move the mic a little bit further away from does that help?
a little bit.
Okay.
We'll work with it. One of the things, and like you had talked about, a boy wearing a skirt off of that. I mean, back in the 90s when I was growing up, I mean, that was just an edgelord thing to do. I remember particularly one of the guys in my middle school decided one day that he was just going to do that, and they actually sent him home and made him put on pants after that. But I mean, I gotta say, he had legs for the skirt. I could say that. He was like mid-thigh.
The only skirts that were allowed for boys when I was in school was if they were wearing a kilt or something along those lines, a men's skirt.
Yeah.
And then they had to have shorts on underneath it.
The old Roddy Piper look.
Although I went to an all-girls school, this is at the boys' school. They have uniforms, well, for the most part, but for like school dances and stuff like that, that they, to be edgy, some guys would wear,
But that's what we see out of that. Grab another one from NPR for us here. This one comes out of my neck of the woods here. A Wisconsin judge rules absentee ballot drop boxes are not allowed under state law. Which this is important because our first primaries will be coming up here in about 5 weeks. So right now we're trying to get everybody on board and know what they're supposed to be doing coming up here in 5 weeks. Reading briefly here, a Waukesha County judge has ruled that absentee ballot drop boxes are not allowed under Wisconsin law, a ruling that could potentially remove an option for voting ahead of the state's crucial midterm elections. Ruling from the bench on Thursday, Circuit Court Judge Michael Boren ordered the Wisconsin Elections Commission to rescind its guidance to clerks on how to use the drop boxes, saying the WEC had exceeded its authority when it issued the recommendations. So what basically had happened what happened under the Pinko Pox essentially was that the executive branch came out and did drop boxing and everything else under EO. There's never been any legislation for it, and this judge looked into it and realized that there was no legislation for it, which means that it can't be enforced. We can't use drop boxes coming back up for the midterm elections and the primaries coming up here. So this is going to be a big one coming in, especially Wisconsin is a major swing state, and with the new laws that the Assembly is putting in, I think we're going to know what happened in 2020 pretty quickly.
Absolutely. But we also have to keep in mind that if mail-in ballots are allowed too, there's a drop box on every corner in everybody's house. You could just mail in your ballot. What do we need drop boxes for at all when you could just mail it in?
Well, I mean, and that's the case of it too. But I know that in Wisconsin, the one I like to cite was in Madison. They were doing what they called Democracy in the Park, where they were going to one of the major parks down in downtown Madison and just saying, "Hey, bring your absentee ballot here and just stuff it in the box," which that was considered to be illegal, and they counted it anyway.
Yeah, it seems very illegal. It seems like that should not be something that's happening at all.
So, well, apparently now coming into the next election, that's not going to be happening. So we'll watch where that goes.
Is my sound sounding better now that I moved the microphone away?
A little bit still. You're still a little bit at the top, but not nearly as much as you were in the last couple. So
let me play with the settings a little bit and see if we can fix it. I can't hear myself, so you're going to have to just let me know if it's...
All right. We'll be talking about China a little bit later on in the stream here, but a billionaire investor, Chamath Palihapitiya, I believe is how that's pronounced, has come out and told us that nobody cares about Uyghur genocide in China. Now, this is the investor and the owner of the Golden State Warriors. Billionaire investor Chamath Palihapitiya triggered a backlash on social media after saying during a recent episode of his podcast that nobody cares about the ongoing human rights abuses against the Uyghurs in China. During a 90-minute episode, Palihapitiya told co-host Jason Calasanis on their All In podcast that he'd be lying if he said that he cared about the Uyghurs, an ethnic Muslim minority in China's northwest region of Xinjiang. every time I say that I care about the Uyghurs, I'm really just lying if I don't really care. And so I'd rather not lie to you and tell you the truth. It's not a priority for me, said Paula Hapatia, a venture capitalist who reports say owns as much as 10% of the Golden State Warriors. However, an NBA source familiar with Paula Hapatia owns around 2%. Paula Hapatia did not immediately respond to CNBC's request for comment on the investment discrepancy. I think a lot more people care about the Uyghurs than we think.
I think people care about it as well. However, I can understand what he meant by that comment, because there's so many other things going on in the world that unless you're going to focus all your energy on that one thing, then yeah, I don't really care what's happening in China. There's other stuff that I personally need to worry about.
Right.
And I honestly think that everyone in the United States should worry about people in the United States first, and then worry about the Uyghurs in China. It's awful. It's atrocious. I'm not condoning, obviously, any of this. That shouldn't even need to be said. However, there are people living on the street in cities all over this country that we should be worrying about before we worry about the Uyghurs in China.
Well, and I mean, for me, it comes down to a point of how I buy, because I've been trying specifically to buy non-made in China stuff for a while. It doesn't always work, but I have been trying to do more of that as we go. But I mean, like consuming media, I've not seen the new Mulan movie, which was filmed in the Xinjiang region, and some of the filming crews that were done with that were the Uyghur Muslims that go along with that. But there's Nike, there's the Crapple products, and everything else off of that. And I do think that there's an extent of people should be more intelligently buying, but also, no, we shouldn't be buying from China. We shouldn't be allowing them to have that power over us anyway.
Absolutely. But everything's made in China, so it's hard to avoid. It's definitely hard to avoid buying things. Even when you're buying groceries at the grocery store, the packaging that those come in is probably made in China. The plastic that the tomatoes are in is probably made in China. There's no way to avoid it. But there's people suffering all over the globe, and we can't help every single one of them.
Right. North Korea got into the news this week because they have conducted now a fourth missile test this month, which means a fourth one this year. From Dennis Romero over at NBC, North Korea has fired as many as 2 rounds of short-range ballistic missiles Monday, South Korean officials said. The missiles were fired east from Sunan Airport area of Pyongyang, the capital, according to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff. The launch was also reported by officials in Japan. Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi said that in an impromptu briefing, the missiles were estimated to have flown roughly 300 kilometers, or about 186 miles, off North Korea's eastern coast. In a statement, the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said that while the launch did not pose an immediate threat to U.S. personnel or territory, or to its allies, highlighted the destabilizing impact of North Korea's weapons program. So, and this didn't go very far, but I mean, in that region of the world, it doesn't have to go very far to hit an ally of the United States either, which, given what we're going to start to see in Eastern Europe, especially if some of the predictions that I've heard Tim Pool make and some of the predictions I've made come to be true, that you don't need to go far with that too, because it's only 300 kilometers from Pyongyang to Japan, which
Absolutely.
is where everything seemed to be pointed.
And they do this every couple of years. It's like North Korea falls out of the world stage, and they need to make us remember that they're there without actually like stomping their feet and saying, "Hey, I'm here." Like this is their way of saying, "Hey, don't forget, we have nukes."
Well, has it ever been confirmed that they actually do have nukes?
I mean, is anything actually confirmed if anybody has nukes? Are nukes even real? I don't know. I've never seen a nuke.
I have. They're real.
Are you sure that's what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it blow up?
I did not see it blow up.
All right. Well, they could have just been telling you it was a nuke. You don't know.
But yes, at this point, we see North Korea shaking their fist here. Some COVID news for you. In Greece, unvaccinated older people are now facing a monthly fine. Reading from ABC, Greece Monday imposed a vaccination mandate for people over age 60 as coverage remains below the EU average and a recent spike in infections has sustained pressure on hospitals. Older people failing to get the vaccination will face penalties starting at €50, or about $57 fine in January, followed by a monthly fine of about €100, or about $114 after that. About two-thirds of Greece's 10.7 million population is currently fully vaccinated. The EU averages just over 70%. The rate of death and daily hospitalizations has increased following the recent spread of the Uyghur variant, though pressure on the ICU capacity has eased slightly. I think this is too far.
It absolutely is too far, but how many people over there are going to just be like, all right, well, I'm going to pay not to get it.
Here's €100 a month for me to stay pure-blooded.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's either going to happen or people will find other ways around it. In my opinion, there's no way to, unless you're going to hold somebody down and stick the needle in their arm, there's no way to make people do this.
Hey, don't tempt them. I know that we were seeing people do that like that in Australia. So
I saw, I think it was out of Los Angeles, them holding down children with mental disabilities and sticking them. And I cried. Like I don't cry a lot, but it made something in here just, I think I have a heart or something, but it was just so sad. It was like, if I find that video, if I come across it again, I'll send it to you. It's going to make you cry too.
I'm sure it will.
It's horrible.
Some more vaccine news. Apple's now mandating boosters for some of their employees. Apple will reportedly require corporate and store employees to get the COVID-19 booster shots. An internal memo viewed by The Verge said employees will have 4 weeks to receive a booster once they become eligible for the additional dose. Employees who do not comply will be required to undergo regular testing prior to entering both offices and stores, beginning on February 15th. In a statement, Apple says, due to waning efficacy of the primary series of the Pinkle-Pox vaccines and the emergence of the highly transmissible variants such as Uyghur, a booster shot is now part of staying up to date with your COVID-19 vaccination to protect against severe diseases, Apple reportedly wrote in the memo. So they're going to be one of those that's actually staying with this now that the government has said, no, we can't do that anymore, which it's an interesting eclectic mix to see who is actually staying or who is backing off of this. I know we'll be talking about Starbucks in just a little bit too, because
Carhartt is one that I just really didn't think would do that. I don't know. I think it's amazing personally that with the job market the way it is and with help wanted signs in every window of every store in every town, we're going to put restrictions like this voluntarily, not even because the government's making us, but companies are doing this voluntarily and they can't get enough employees to run their stuff as it is.
Well, interestingly enough, one of the other things that goes with that is we are starting to see some of them too, where the activists out there are coming out there. I saw a girl I follow on Instagram was pointing out the fact that one of these big emo concerts out there is coming out and selling non-refundable tickets to go to this concert, and now they're going to probably, and according to her, because there's no vaccine requirement, they're probably going to step back and cancel the show because of COVID, but you're not going to get your money back, so they can turn around and pay for whatever happened in that rap show. What was that, a couple months ago?
Astroworld.
Yeah, Astroworld. That's the one.
This sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen. If I buy a ticket to something and you are the one, like if they're breaking the contract in that situation, I can understand no refunds if I decide I can't go or I get sick. But if you're not putting on the show, you're giving me my money back, or I'm going to file a lawsuit, even if it's for whatever the tickets cost, $37, $87, whatever it is. I will make it a point to go to small claims court for principles.
Yeah. But that's what we see from that. Gizzard Maxwell is back in the news here. Gizzard Maxwell ends fight to keep 8 John Does secret. Court to decide whether the name should be unsealed. Reading briefly from CNN, Maxwell will no longer fight to keep the names of 8 John Does secret and will leave it to the court to decide whether the name should be unsealed, according to a January 12th letter to federal judge Loretta Preska of the Southern District of New York. The documents containing the names connected to a 2015 defamation case brought by Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who claimed that Epstein sexually abused her while she was a minor and that Maxwell aided the abuse. The case was settled in 2017. Which, I mean, to me interests me because these are all after careful review of the detailed objections submitted by non-party does, 17, 53, 54, 55, 73, 93, and 151. Counsel for Maxwell writes to inform the court that she does not wish to further address those objections. Maxwell's attorney, Laura Menninger, wrote, each of the listed does has counsel who have ably asserted their own respective privacy rights. Ms. Maxwell therefore leaves it to the court to conduct the appropriate review, which is interesting enough to me because Maxwell was convicted of sex trafficking, but, somebody's got to buy the victims in order for there to be sex trafficking.
Absolutely. I don't think she's going to make it to the end of the month. That's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. But if she's making statements like that, or even through her lawyer or whatever, that, look, I'm not interested in protecting people anymore, she's not going to make it very much longer. And I've had people say, well, don't you know who her father was and this and that? But her father's not around anymore. She's got nobody. She's like, she's Voldemort. Nobody wants anything to do with her at this point.
Yeah. Do you think that she is actually in danger right now at this point, though? Because they've got all the names out there already. The court knows who this is. I would be more afraid for the judge than Maxwell at this point, if it was me, I guess.
They don't have all of the names.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt they have all of the names. So, I guess it just really depends on whose names are on that list.
Yeah.
But like the judge is probably in danger as well. You're right about. I didn't think about it, but you're probably right. The judge is also in danger.
Well, I guess we'll see if they unseal them or if they keep them sealed. Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell have been subpoenaed by the 1-6 committee. Will they comply? It does look like, as of right now, Giuliani will not be complying, but Sidney Powell will. Reading from Newsweek. The House Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol Selfie Fest has subpoenaed Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, and Boris Epshteyn, all attorneys, in the 2020 re-election campaign of then-President Trump. It is unclear whether any of the former Trump attorneys will comply with committee subpoenas. Many of Trump's former associates, like former White House advisor Steve Bannon and former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, haven't. Some have invoked the fifth to avoid testifying. But it looks like, according to this tweet that I found to go with this here from the attorney on behalf of Sidney Powell, Diane Bless tweets out, "Go get him, Sidney Powell." For immediate release, 1/19/2022, Ms. Powell has received the January 6th committee subpoena, and she looks forward to providing the committee with significant evidence in support of the election fraud statements and claims that she presented on behalf of electors and clients she represented. Those claims are supported by expert reports and affidavits of witnesses that no court took the time to hear. Ms. Powell is a practicing lawyer, and she will comply to the full extent required by the law and legal ethics. Ms. Powell looks forward to appearing before the committee to answer the questions, walk through the evidence, and present a full picture of the fraud and other misconduct that took place during the 2020 election, including the myriad of election fraud allegations only now being examined by state officials in Georgia, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Statement on behalf of Sidney Powell from Howard Kleinhendler, counsel for Sidney Powell.
Honestly, if everyone just goes into this committee and tells the truth, obviously that's not going to happen. Most of the people are not going to tell the truth about what really went on that day and who promoted this and who, it's never going to happen. But I think if everybody went into that council meeting, everyone who's subpoenaed went in there, or whatever it's called, but is it a court case? It's not a court case, but testifies, if everyone told the truth, they wouldn't be having it to start with because they don't want the truth to come out.
Right. As far as Powell goes, I like Powell, from the sounds of the letter, it sounds like she's going to run up there and she's going to say, "Oh, well, this happened in Pennsylvania and this thing." And I don't think they're going to let her do that, though. That's the thing. No. It's going to be, Ms. Powell, come up here, answer yes or no. Please don't say anything else. Please just answer yes or no to what we hear off of this. And when she tries to go into a speech, whoever is up there on the committee is going to yell out, "Reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time," over and over again until they shut her up.
that's how every court case is. If you're a witness in a court case, you can't just speak freely.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how they expect to learn anything from this.
They're not looking to learn anything from this. They're looking for stuff that they can use for midterms and beyond.
They're looking for ammo.
Yep. We've got one here from the Daily Wire. Senate Democrats believe Biden's Justice Department will prosecute Trump and warn it could backfire. Reading on here, Senate Democrats reportedly believe there's a good chance that the Democrat president, Joe Biden's Department of Justice, will pursue criminal charges against former President Trump over the events that took place during the Selfie Fest on January 6th. Given the weight of public evidence, Democratic lawmakers think Trump committed federal crimes, The Hill reported, but Senate Democrats also warn that AG Garland needs to proceed cautiously. Any prosecution that fails to convict Trump risks becoming a disaster and could vindicate Trump, just as the inconclusive report by former special counsel Robert Mueller's team was seized upon by Trump and his allies to declare his exoneration on a separate series of allegations. All that I hear when I read something like this is Democrats now yelling, "Lock him up, lock him up."
That's exactly what's happening. And just even saying that, oh, they're hypocrites, that's just kind of boring because they have been forever about everything, about every subject, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, Democrats are going to be hypocrites, but that's just the way of the Democrats. And honestly, Republicans are too. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but they are, you know.
Oh, I can think of a lot of examples right off the top of my head. Jesus, George W. Bush, second term Reagan.
Yeah. Well, you're smarter than me. I can't think
Nixon.
of things off the top of my head.
All the war hawks out there that scream religion and then go try to bomb a bunch of brown kids in the Middle East right there. That's hypocrisy
Bombing
in
brown
and of
kids.
itself. Bombing brown kids. One of the things to look at with this, though, I mean, first and foremost, if you're going to take a shot, then take the shot, but make sure that you do not miss, because you've already got the allegations of political witch hunt off of this. You don't go after former political adversaries. You just don't do that in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know what's going to happen off of this, but I don't think it's going to work out well for them. You know what else isn't going to work out well for people? From Fox Business, California has weighed proposal that could double its taxes. Reading from Fox Business, a new analysis from the Tax Foundation, a nonpartisan group that generally advocates for lower taxes, found that the proposed constitutional amendment would increase taxes by roughly $12,250 per household in order to fund the first-of-its-kind healthcare system, and all tax increases are designed to raise an additional $163 billion per year, which is more than California raised in total tax revenue in a year before the pandemic. Looking in at some of the brackets that they proposed here, they've, I believe, doubled their brackets at this point. If you're making up to 10 grand, it's in your household, it's 2.25. 9324 to 22106 is 3.25. 22106 to 34891 is 5.25. 7.25 up to 48,000. 10.25 up to 49,000. So I mean, there's a lot of little tiny brackets for this, but in California, I mean, $48,000, $49,000, $61,000 a year, that gets eaten up pretty fucking quick.
Yeah, nobody in California is making $20,000 a year. There's no way they could live there.
And if they are, it's just all under the table anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Or they have another job that's under the table, and this is their, you know, like they're a drug dealer or something, and they just go to work at Walmart, you know, to have a legit source of income or something like that.
California would also expand the payroll tax paid by employees who earn more than $49,990 in annual income if they work for a company that has more than 50 workers. Walzak noted that the plan could deter small businesses from expanding by inadvertently creating a tax cliff. For instance, if a company that had 49 workers earning $80,000 each hired one additional employee, they would suddenly create a tax bill of more than $90,000. So, I mean, good luck, California. I read in the live chat the morning when we read this over on Contemporary that U-Haul has seen a surge in prices, or not prices, but rentals in California this past week.
Yeah, I heard they ran out of trucks, which is great news for those people leaving, not good news for the places they're going to, because we all know that when Californians leave California, because the politics there suck, they go somewhere and they try to turn it into California, which I don't understand why, but it seems to happen everywhere they go.
Maybe they'll do it to Georgia soon. Stacey Abrams for Georgia.
It's happening. It's happening. Trust me.
This was an interesting one that I found here from Zero Hedge. Biden's infrastructure bill now signed into law mandates vehicle kill switches by 2026. The rumors were first reported back on December have turned out to be true. The U.S. federal government is apparently in the process of trying to force automakers to install a kill switch in their vehicles that authorities can use to shut down any newer vehicle. Some of the reasons to have the kill switch activated would be driving erratically. Obviously, of course, we've talked about the alcohol sensors in newer vehicles, which I think is going to be injuncted by court at some point here. But also, like if you get into a chase or something there, but your vehicles are also always listening anyway too. So, hey, we heard that you said let's go Brandon this week here. Maybe you don't need to drive to work this week.
Yeah, I don't want the government. I didn't give them permission to ride shotgun. I don't want them in my car. Anything like this. The alcohol thing that we talked about a couple weeks ago, it's ridiculous that they're trying to get into every facet of your life. They're already listening in on your phone. They're listening in on your TV, your smart TV. Now they want to be in your car too.
Yeah, they do. I don't think I'm going to own anything newer than a 2014 ever again.
Yeah, I am going to have to keep my car. My car's a 2011, and I'm going to have to keep it forever. Like add a new engine, add a new transmission, whatever I need. I'll have to keep the outside looking nice.
I mean, I've debated going back and just going straight up to carbureted everything because I know how to adjust a carburetor.
I don't know how to do any of that stuff.
I do.
But I got a good mechanic. And I have you as a friend, and you know how to do all of that stuff.
Some Starbucks news for us from NBC. Starbucks nixes the vaccine mandate after Supreme Court ruling, which I'm kind of not surprised by, but this led to some major backlash from leftoids over on Twitter and everything else because now nobody wants to go buy Starbucks because they think that it's going to be unsafe for them.
I mean, I would get a Starbucks, but it's gross. So it's not even that I don't want to give them my money. It's just that they have an inferior product.
They do. It sucks.
I make better coffee. I could be a barista. I'm just saying.
I like my Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I really do. I think it's delicious.
Even McDonald's is better in my book.
I don't know that I've ever had McDonald's coffee.
It's good. You should try it. Next time you're out looking for a cup of coffee in the morning, just go through the McDonald's, get your regular order, and let me know. Text me and let me know what you think.
I've had Taco Bell coffee before I had McDonald's coffee.
Never had. Is Taco Bell even open for coffee?
Yeah, they have a breakfast menu. It's not bad.
I mean, it can't be healthy.
But I mean, looking at it, who is going to want to mandate a vaccine over a minimum wage job, over a $7.25, $8.25, $9.20, whatever the fuck it is job?
Well, Starbucks is doing the smart thing here because people will forget about this because they're addicted to Starbucks, first of all. But people will forget about this. And like I was saying about the other companies, they cannot find employees to staff their stores, let alone open new locations. They can't open new locations because they can't staff their current locations. So if they want to keep staff, they're not going to put any more restrictions than are legally required for them. And Starbucks is one of those companies that for a part-time job, they pay well, they offer benefits. If you're a kid in high school or in college, Starbucks is a great place to work.
Well, Well, yeah, and I mean, you're absolutely right about that too. I mean, I've seen other ones too that are, you know, you wouldn't think that they were good places to work if you're in college too. Walmart, surprisingly enough, is one of those on that list.
I worked for Walmart more than my way through college. And if you go to work and you work hard at Walmart, you get promoted and they give you more money.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with people that are complaining about Walmart, they want to go to work and not work and then get a raise at the end of the year. So, I never had an issue with Walmart as far as I had an issue with Walmart as far as like Black Friday at the Walmart I was at. But as far as the company treating me poorly, I never had a problem with that.
Let's talk about natural immunity here. Natural immunity was more effective than vaccines alone against Delta variant. CDC study shows. This is from Fox 8 out of Cleveland. Natural immunity to COVID was more effective against the Delta variant than vaccines alone, according to a recent CDC study. So what had happened was they went back and they looked at cases in New York and California, and they studied people who both got or didn't get the COVID from being in close contact and being either unvaccinated or having previously had a different variant before, either Alpha, the Wuhan, Beta, or even before the Delta too. And they found that, I mean, in some cases, if you had a previous variant when the Delta came around, you were over 30 times less likely to get the Delta variant without being vaccinated.
Absolutely. Most of the people I know that got the Delta, not most of them, half of them were vaccinated, or the Omicron as well. But having a vaccination is not stopping anybody from getting this illness. So, I mean, what are we doing here? Like, what's the point of this?
Control, compliance for the most part.
Bingo. That's exactly it.
But I'm looking forward to having some of that natural immunity now, so.
I wish I could I tried so hard to get it. I tried. I can't get it. I tried very hard. I must have already had it and not even realized it or something, because there's no way I shouldn't have gotten COVID. Like, I had somebody in my house. I was taking care of them every day, like, who had tested positive for COVID, and I couldn't get it.
Well, we'll see what that natural immunity looks like here. A federal judge in Texas has blocked the federal contractor mandate. Reading from The Hill, federal judge in Texas blocks Biden's vaccine mandate for federal workers. A federal judge in Texas on Friday blocked President Biden's mandate for federal workers to be vaccinated against the pinko pox in the latest blow to the White House's vaccination efforts. Judge Jeffrey Brown, who was appointed by former President Trump, wrote that the order exceeded the president's authority. The case is about whether the president can, with each stroke of a pen and without the input of Congress, require millions of federal employees to undergo a medical procedure as a condition of employment, Brown wrote. It might be time to, and I know people who are federal contractors. We have a mutual friend who's a federal contractor. I won't tell you who it is on air, but I'll tell you off air who it is. But he is a federal contractor. It's good money. You can buy a house very young because you're getting very good money to do federal contract work. But it might be time to start looking at the federal government and saying, hey, between the wondering if I'm going to get a paycheck every time you guys try to have an omnibus fight, or whether you're going to tell me that I have to do this because I'm a federal contractor, it might be time to start telling the federal government to fuck themselves.
Absolutely. Mr. Zed was a federal contractor for a short time, well, a couple of years, and it's really good money. But yeah. I don't think, even if we go to war again and they're hiring the type of federal contract work that he does, I don't think that I would want him to do that again, just because it's not the same as it used to be.
Right.
And being a federal contractor, he didn't work for the government. He worked for another company that worked for the government, which is obviously what contract work is. But for the federal government to be able to tell this other company what their employees have to do, it's ridiculous. It's control. It's all about the control, especially since we just went over the fact that these vaccines are not doing anything for anybody. This is about control and compliance.
Speaking of control and compliance, as you mentioned earlier, Carhartt, it says he's still mandating staff vaccination, and now he's facing a boycott. We talked about this a bit ago, but yes, an internal memo was leaked from management level and the CEO, Mark Vallade from Carhartt, saying that yes, all their employees are required to be vaccinated. They were required to be vaccinated by January 4th, and anybody who is not in compliance at this point is facing termination from Carhartt.
I would make them fire me. Like, I was never a big fan of Carhartt anyway. It's pretty expensive, and I'm the cheap ass, so I was never a big fan. But there's other companies that if you need those type of clothes for work, go to 511, go to Duluth Trading Company. They have good quality work type clothing, and you're not dealing with this leftist bullshit.
I've had the same work in sport since I was 18.
You're a what now? Work in sport? What is that?
It's an off-brand Carhartt.
Oh, okay.
And it's durable.
If it's good quality and durable, then who cares what name is stamped on it?
I've had it for 20 years, and there's a little bit of a breakdown in the sleeves, on the other side of the sleeves.
Well, when you go to replace it, go to Duluth Trading Company or go back to Work in Sport. I've never heard of this before, but there's other places to get these types of products. And the type of people who purchase Carhartt are the type of people that aren't going to put up with that shit. So I think they've done fucked up.
Yeah.
They've limited their market to the hippies in New York.
Yeah, it is. And the last one that we will have here goes to some Rittenhouse stuff. 2 states are aiming to adopt self-defense laws named after Kyle Rittenhouse. So we talked a bit about this morning. Tennessee and Oklahoma are both introducing laws that are basically set to hold accountable the state governments if they attempt to make a prosecution of a clear self-defense, and the prosecuted winds up being acquitted, which I think is a good thing.
Absolutely. I think every state needs something like that for sure. Like if what Binger did to Kyle is ridiculous, and anybody who is looking at this case just through a lens of like, forget about the players and the politics and all of that stuff. Just look at it objectively. What happened in this case? It could have ruined this kid's life, and they shouldn't be allowed. There should be some sort of repercussions.
Now, the unfortunate part of this, of course, is going to come out of property taxes when they do pay out, because it is the governments, if they do attempt to go back and do something like this, they have to pay for the lawyers' fees, for the court costs, and everything else on behalf of the defendant at this point here. Which, yeah, I mean, where does that come from? That comes out of property tax.
There's some things I know you're against all taxes. I am not the same. I like roads. I've said this before. But there are certain things that are worth paying for, and this is one of them. If the government is allowed to just do whatever the fuck they want, whenever they want, and there's no repercussions, then we're all in danger. So if my property taxes go up by 0.25% or whatever, I'm fine with it. And it could come out of sales tax. You don't know.
That could. All right. Let's check in with the live chat here, see what these guys are saying.
Can you start off with the live chat while I just step away for a minute and a half?
Okay. Let's see what we can find out here. And we'll see if we can figure out what's going on with the gain on your microphone, too.
All right. I'll be right back.
All right. A lot of stuff here. Randy Crush Saga is here. Grant says, guys, the Biden admin is going to allow minor incursions into our voting security. Nice. 80s kid is loving the dog chillaxing on the couch. That's Xena. I've slept on that couch, by the way. It's a comfy couch. Grant says Biden has to protect his investments in the Ukraine. 80s Kid says President Brandon is a PDF file. Life to the Max is here. Point out that Katie's audio keeps fluctuating. I think I know what's going on with it, but yeah, I think we'll actually have to sit down and figure out where the gain settings are, because I think it's basically it's peaking out on that and it's muffling because it's hitting top end. So we'll have to take the gain back out of there. I know she's got a dynamic gain like I have for mine, but hers is built into the microphone. Mine is not. Let's see. The call to his brother makes his motivation clear. Also, he views himself as a Muslim first and not a British after all. No, he was a British citizen, remember? Yeah, boomer audio issues. We'll figure that out. Life to the Max says, I only saw dudes in skirts when the football team was getting hazed. Go Cheeseheads. Woo! I have no idea. I haven't watched football this year. So, Porch Boys are here. Grant says, speaking of NPR, did you see Sotomayor and Gorsuch said the story on NPR did on them about mask was fake news? Yes, I saw that. I did not get that. Didn't make it into the cut for the week here, but yes, we did see that one. Nephilim Ninja says, Uyghur, please. Nephilim says, I boycotted because of no Mushu. Let's see what else here. Yeah, Mushu was the best part of Mulan. I liked Mulan, the animated movie. I have not seen the live action one. I have no intention to do so. Major Victory says, "Where there goes their retirement savings." And Donkey was the best part of Shrek. Coincidence? Probably. Both are voiced by Eddie Murphy, of course. Ooh, I can hear myself.
I was listening to the live chats while I was. Sorry about that.
Major Victory says, unless she's been going door to door shoving the kids at people, saying, "Here, take the brat." And then Major Victory had to take off. Let's see. Goats and Scars says, I guess they do need ammo since they left it all in Afghanistan. Let's see, what else do we have here? Questfang says, I actually randomly heard back from Twitch about my challenge. Big surprise, they said the exact same thing. So the original Questfanning account will not be coming back over on Twitch. Quest says, get a warrant, talking about the kill switch.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Quest says, question life, was it you or Slappy that was agitated by the Island Boys? I know nothing about the Island Boys. I've seen their pictures, and that's about all I know about them.
The song is very catchy. It gets stuck in my head from time to time.
Mr. Zed says, you're driving, a jack wagon is being chased by the cops. They hit the kill switch, and all the cars in the area are disabled. You die in an accident, and it is, oh well, collateral damage. Fanning says, get all old diesel, pre-85, no EMP risk. That's fair. And I know how to work on those too, by the way. Life to the Max loves Taco Bell breakfast, and so do I. Taco Bell breakfast is great.
It sounds so bad for you, though. I just can't even imagine. Like, what do they have that's, I don't know. Like, do they make
tacos,
breakfast burritos?
Yeah, with eggs and sausage in them. And they make a crunch wrap, too, with eggs and sausage in it. It's really
probably
good.
Healthier than regular Taco Bell, actually, now that I hear the description.
Yeah. It's delicious. I don't get it enough, but it is delicious. It's worth going for. I think I might do that tomorrow just for the fuck of it. Let's see. Randy says, Ed and Zed are feds.
It's not fed anymore.
Spaniard says, new here, but the lady's mic is going in and out. Yeah, we're working on addressing that there. I think that's going to be a gain issue, so we'll figure that one out. Yeah, because you have a gain knob on the side of yours, correct?
No, this is a Blue Yeti I got, and so there's a computer program. I don't know.
Randy says, buy walls. Feels like the exact same coat for less money. Randy says, remember when he tried to invoke Call of Duty playing, where one group of armed people tries to kill another group of armed people before they get killed? Grant says, any Waukesha car attack updates? No, we're just waiting for that one to work its way through the courts right now, and because of COVID, the courts are taking extremely slow, so he might be sitting in there for quite a while, until the Minnesota Freedom Fund raises $5 million for him. Quest Fanning says, we got this house for $50K. It's now worth $3.7 million. Still paying only $5K a year in tax on that. Way better than California or New Jersey. I hear that you can be defiant in New Jersey and Muslim. And then tell people you're from Brooklyn.
Do you have any idea what the size of the house at West Fanning?
You're way out now. I can't even hear you.
How about now?
That's better.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, I put it halfway in between.
That actually, yeah, because you're not peeking out on the top.
There's too many like buttons on this screen. I don't know what any of them mean. It's a problem.
Yeah. Mine's active, but it's physical. Like I have physical controls for mine.
Yeah, this is all computer now.
Let's see. Randy says, are we all just agreeing that Eddie Murphy is the best part of any Disney movie?
It's thundering.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nice. Seawall says, Blue Yeti has a gain knob. We'll do some of this stuff off mic too, so.
It's just got volume, I promise. That's it. Just one knob.
We'll figure some of the stuff off mic.
Okay, sorry.
Because there are enough people here that have Blue Yeti, so they all know how it all works.
I'm blonde. I don't know anything.
Quest Fanning says, Brooklyn Dad Defiant is a bitch. Ron says, changed oil, clean throttle today, clean mass sensor, the one in the air intake hose, replaced thermostat, and burped the cooling system. Ron Helton has had a very productive day. Plus, he's probably raised some chickens yet today, too. So,
Ron Helton is a man's man.
Ron Helton is a man's man. You are correct on that. Absolutely. So, with that, we will circle back for more of this here. But we've got to talk about Biden. Now, as I said at the top of the show, almost all of the news stories that we had for the week stem from this one single press conference. I mean, there was a little bit of news that happened before, but it was just a scattershot earlier on in the week. And once this news conference hit, it was right there in everything off of this. So Joe Biden has given a press conference this week talking about his first year in office. He gave it on the anniversary of his inauguration, or I believe it was the day before the inauguration. Let me look at it. Yep, January 19th. So it was the day before his inaugural anniversary. In the East Room, he gave a 2-hour press conference where he allowed questions into this, which was surprising in and of itself because, Biden doesn't take questions because he doesn't take them well.
It's because he needs a script. He needs to know exactly what he's going to say before he says it. Otherwise, it all goes to shit. I don't know what they put in his coffee that morning, but I couldn't believe he got through it.
Did you check the earlobes?
Yeah, it's Biden number 5. Detached earlobes.
Detached earlobes. Yeah, there was a lot to talk about with this too. The New York Post had a nice big photographic spread of many of the things that we saw with this. Of course, they've got the video going up at the top, but I mean, you see him there, calm, collected, in some sort of control off of this. There were some topics that were talked about with this, and one of the big ones that was up on this is the fact that the announcement was made that the Biden administration is purchasing and distributing 400, I believe the full number is 435 million N95 masks to the American people.
This does nothing. It does nothing for us. It's like a couple of masks per person.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to throw them out. I don't even know. I haven't worn a mask, so I don't know how often you're supposed to. Like when I have to wear one, I wear it once and throw it out because I've only worn it a few times, like a handful of times.
Yeah. And I mean, I've never worn a proper mask either through any of this bullshit. There's a black regular cloth mask sitting over on the table where the ring light is, and somewhere around here there's a Gadsden flag neck gaiter that I pretty much wore for everything off of this.
Yeah.
Just because I love the irony of it.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic, isn't it?
One of the things that he had to say about this, though, was he was a little bit defensive in some of this, but also coming out to say that they should have been testing earlier in the entire thing. That was one of the main clips that went on of this. Let's actually have a listen to what he had to say about this. ABC News Politics has the clip. Let's listen.
Look, we're also increasing testing. Should we have done more testing earlier? Yes. But we're doing more now. We've gone from 0 at-home tests a year ago to 375 million tests on the market in just this month. If you buy a test at a store, your insurance will reimburse you. On top of that, we're making 1 billion at-home tests available for you to order and be delivered to your home for free. Just visit covidtest.gov to know how to get that free test kit to your home. In addition, there are 20,000 sites where you can get tested in person for free now.
So, and he went on to say that they should have been doing more testing off in the front, but I mean, all that does is really, honestly, it inflates the case total.
Well, here's the thing is people needed to get tested before Christmas, before they got together with their families and friends or whatever. Now we have an outbreak of the Omicron, which, by the way, is just the regular flu. The symptoms are the same as a regular flu. They're just connecting it to COVID-19, even though it should be whatever flu 2022, 2021, like whatever this year's strain is what it is. But people didn't get tested ahead of time because there were no tests, because Biden dropped the ball. So there were no tests. So people said, oh, well, I don't feel sick, so I'm just going to go hang out with grandma, for Christmas. And it got spread around like that. And then there was an outbreak. How many people do you and I know just in our personal lives who got sick with this particular variant of the flu?
I did.
Zed did. I know 3 or 4 other people that we have in common that did. More than that, like 6 or 7 other people that we both know, some of whom are in the live chat right now, who got this Omicron variant. But it's because of Biden and Kamala Harris's lack of foresight. Like, they're not chess players. You need to be thinking a couple of moves ahead, at least, if you're the president of the goddamn United States.
Well, if you're Biden, it's really hard for you to think a couple moves ahead because you have to focus on holding your sphincter together so you don't crap yourself.
Tying your shoe. You got to remember how to tie your shoe.
Oh, I'm sure he's got people for that.
Yeah.
One of the other big ones, and this frustrated me when I heard about this, because this is something that I have been preaching from the beginning, and that is that he's now talking about chunking up the Build Back Bullshit bill. What have I said from the beginning, especially when they come up and say, oh, well, here's the Republican opposition because they're opposing price fixes for insulin. Well, introduce that as a standalone bill, you dumb fuck. Why does it have to be attached to all the rest of this pork barrel? And now they're talking about the fact that, they might actually have to chunk this up and put some of these things on single issue bills.
Everything should always be on a single issue bill. This pork that they're adding into these bills makes it so nothing gets done. Entire government comes to a grinding halt because they want to add in their pet project just chucked right in there with a bill that really fucking matters. Like there's stuff that needs to get done and they can't do it. Like they need to write new legislation that says each item needs to be its own separate thing. Like there's no need for a 400-page bill about anything.
400, that's a small one though too.
Well, do you see what I'm saying? Anything above 20 pages probably.
Yeah, because Build Back Bullshit, that's a 5,000-page bill.
Yeah.
Let's listen to what they have to say about, or what Biden has to say to Mary Kay Bruce, which I don't know if they identified where she is out of. I can look that up possibly. But let's listen to what he had to say to her.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned your Republican colleagues, but right now your top two legislative priorities, your social spending package and voting rights legislation, are stalled, blocked by your own party after months of negotiation. You are only guaranteed control of Washington for one more year before the midterms. Do you need to be more realistic and scale down these priorities in order to get something passed?
No, I don't think so. When you say more realistic, I think it's extremely realistic to say to people, because let me back up. You all really know the politics of this country and your networks and others. You spend a lot of time, which I'm glad you do, polling this data, determining what the American people's attitudes are, et cetera. The American people overwhelmingly agree with me on prescription drugs. They overwhelmingly agree with me on the cost of education. They overwhelmingly agree with me on early education. They overwhelmingly go on the list on child care. And so we just have to make the case of what we're for and what the other team's not for. Look, we knew all along that a lot of this was going to be an uphill fight. And one of the ways to do this is to make sure we make the contrast as clear as we can. And one of the things that I think is we're going to have to do is just make the case. I don't think there's anything unrealistic about what we're asking. I'm not asking for castles in the sky. I'm asking for practical things the American people have been asking for a long time. And I think we can get it done.
You're not going to scale down any of these priorities, but so far that strategy isn't working. You haven't been able to get some of these big legislative ticket items done.
I got two real big ones done, bigger than any president has ever gotten in the first year.
But currently, Mr. President, your spending package, voting rights legislation, they're not going anywhere. So
that's true.
Is there anything that you are confident you can get signed into law before the midterm elections?
Yes, I'm confident we can get pieces, big chunks of the Build Back Better law signed into law. And I'm confident that we can take the case to the American people that the people they should be voting for, who are going to oversee whether elections in fact are legit or not, should not be those who are being put up by the Republicans to determine that they're going to be able to change the outcome of the election. So whether or not we can actually get an election, and by the way, I haven't given up. We haven't finished the vote yet on what's going on voting rights and the John Lewis bill and others. But so, look, this is, I've been engaged a long time in public policy, and I don't.
All right, I can't listen to him anymore. But that's, I think he's right. I think that there is the aspect of that where he says, yeah, Americans overwhelmingly agree with me on prescription drug prices. I could see that.
I don't agree with the fact that he's gotten more done in the first year of his presidency than any other president ever. That's a ridiculous statement. But
no,
yeah,
he just got more money spent.
Prescription drug prices could be lower, but if you have a job that has insurance, then it doesn't matter what the drugs cost because you pay the $20 copay and you're done with it. The issue with that is they keep raising the premiums to cover the price of these drugs. So people who have to pay for their insurance can't afford to do it.
Right. Well, and of course, I think with Biden, he would love to have most everybody in the country onto the government insurance. So then I mean, it's all single payer, but I mean, we're all already looking down the barrel of that and saying, hell no, we won't go.
Absolutely not. I have insurance through my company that I'm fine with.
But I mean, and that goes back to it. It goes right back to the first thing that we saw when the Build Back bullshit bill came up for the vote for the first time was that, whoa, why would any Republican senator be against capping insulin prices at $35? I don't know. Why did you repeal the law that President Trump had on the books? Because that was already signed into law on a single issue bill, by the way.
Because Trump's name was on it, and it's petty. They're petty.
Yeah.
All of these politicians are very petty.
I mean, that was like first thing on inauguration was, okay, let's get rid of that bill.
Ridiculous. And they're getting rid of things that they want, like that prescription drug, the Trump one. These are things that they want in place, but because Trump did it, it's not good enough. There's something wrong with it. It's like when you have your little brother or somebody does artwork and it's beautiful, but you find fault with it because you don't like your little brother and you want to, twist the knife.
Yeah, there's that aspect. It's just I can't believe some of the level of things like this. And like I said, I think that they're trying to do some of this too much too fast. I think there's an aspect to that.
I don't know. Government runs at a snail's pace as it is. So saying that something's happening too fast, it just doesn't,
I wanted to touch on one. I wanted to touch on one other thing that came out of this before we moved on and talked about some of the big specifics of what's going on with this, because I know we got to talk voting rights and we've got to talk about Ukraine. But there was one that I wanted to touch on, and I actually heard this today on a YouTube ad. I couldn't believe it when I heard what it was. I had heard that this was supposed to be happening, but I hadn't heard it on any sort of specific ad off of this. But on the day after this big press conference, Biden inaugural team blanketed the airwaves with a commercial that was recorded by Tom Hanks. Did you hear any of that? Did you hear it?
I did. Well, I mean, I heard the replay. I mean, I didn't hear it at the time, but I watched it online. I don't have regular TV, so.
I heard it on a YouTube ad today.
Yeah.
And it was as bad as you think it was. Reading here from Axios, President Biden's presidential inaugural committee will mark his first anniversary in office by blanketing today's airwaves from breakfast to evening news to prime time with a video promoting a recovering, resilient America. The video is narrated by Tom Hanks, who was part of the Biden inaugural festivities, and features cameos by everyday Americans, a UPS driver, a Teamster from Michigan, and a B&B owner in Wisconsin. I can feel the change, says Sandra Lindsay, a New York nurse who was the first person in the U.S. to get the COVID vaccine. President Biden says near the end, I've never been more optimistic about America's future, but, of course, Internet sleuths came out almost immediately and reminded us of the fact that The Simpsons beat them to this on this with this image of Tom Hanks that says, hello, I'm Tom Hanks. The U.S. government has lost its credibility, so it's borrowing some of mine.
Yeah, The Simpsons call a lot of things, don't they?
They do. It's kind of weird, actually.
Over and over and over again.
But, I mean, well, you've heard the advertisement now at this point. What was your take on it?
The thing that I noticed the most is that it doesn't feature any white people, white men anyway. There's some in the background. The other thing I noticed is that, traditionally America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. However, they didn't use the word free in this ad at all, because obviously that would be ridiculous with the mandates they're trying to put in place. They said the land of the brave, and they also said the home of the brave. So I'm not sure if that was done purposely or if whoever wrote the script for this has never heard the national anthem. I don't know, but freedom was taken completely out of it. Those are the two big things that jumped out at me.
I didn't catch that when I listened to this, but of course, I mean, once I started hearing Tom Hanks, I started scrambling for the skip ad button too. Like, come on, get rid of it, get rid of it.
You should watch it. It's 30 seconds or whatever, but I'm telling you what, it drove me nuts because at the beginning, I want to say the script at the beginning said America's the home of the brave. And then at the end of the ad, so there was time in between, they said it's the land of the brave. And as soon as I heard the land of the brave, I'm like, the land of the brave, like that, it didn't sit right with me that nobody wants to be free anymore. They want government. They want daddy government to control their lives. They want to be governed as hard as possible.
Maybe even harder at some point. I've heard some of them say, well, it's usually a libertarian joke, but govern me harder, daddy. Govern me harder, daddy.
Sidney Watson says that. Govern me harder, daddy.
I did want to talk just a bit about the upcoming elections here, especially since we're talking about the press conference here. And there's no real good way to explain this except for bringing up the Defiant L's meme. I know you've seen that meme format before. It's probably one of my favorites here. And this, because usually you're looking back a year to 2 years between the two of these. No, this was 12 days between the two of these here. From Sprout Social on 1/7/2022 at 1:11 p.m., Joe Biden, with the blue check mark, United States government official, says, "We absolutely must be clear about what is true and what's a lie. The former president did what no president in the history of this country has ever done. He refused to accept the results of an election and the will of the American people." And on 1/19/2022 at 5:22 p.m., Katie Pavlich, blue checked as well, tweets out, "Biden says upcoming elections could be easily illegitimate."
Yeah, and then they tried to backpedal after
Oh, they tried to backpedal that one hard.
Psaki was just trying to swim backwards upstream. It was crazy.
Against the salmon, every cliche you could do about swimming upstream off of this. I mean, Psaki was doing. You're absolutely correct off of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it couldn't be more clear of what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I forget, somebody else said it. It was Kamala said it on The View or something like that. They both basically said the same thing. Like, this upcoming election is going to be rigged, and there's nothing we could do about it. And
short
then
of
they
passing
realized
the John Lewis Act.
Oh, wait. We just banned all of these people. We tried to shut people down for saying that the elections were not free and fair. Like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, they did tried hard to walk this back too, because you're right. They knew what they were saying.
Absolutely, and the walk back was just so ridiculous. If you only heard the walk back, you'd be like, oh, okay, somebody misunderstood, whatever. But if you actually listened to the Biden speech, I didn't hear the Kamala one. I heard about it, but I heard the Biden one. He was absolutely saying that this election is not going to be fair because of the laws that weren't passed or whatever it was.
Well, let's listen to what he actually did say off of this here. I've got the clip queued up from the press conference here, and then I've got the Savannah Guthrie from the Today Show with Kamala Harris off of that.
Oh, good. I haven't seen that one. Good. Okay.
Let's have a listen.
I just wanted to clarify. A moment ago, you were asked whether or not you believed that we would have free and fair elections in 2022 if some of these state legislatures reformed their voting protocols. You said that it depends. Do you think that they would in any way be illegitimate?
Oh yeah, I think it easily could be illegitimate. Imagine if in fact Trump has succeeded in convincing Pence to not count the votes. Imagine if...
In regards to 2022, sir, the midterm
2022. I mean, imagine if those attempts to say that the count was not legit. You have to recount it, or we're not going to count. We're going to discard the following votes. I mean, sure, I'm not saying it's going to be legit. It's the increase in the prospect of being illegitimate is a direct proportion to us not being able to get these reforms passed. But I don't think you're not going to see me, and I don't think you're going to see the Democratic Party give up on coming back at assuming that the attempt fails today.
And then one more, sir. You campaigned and you ran on a return to civility, and I know that you.
And that's where they're going to cut him off. But it was just last week that President Biden was saying that, you can't be proud of your country only when you win. And, like he had said, Donald Trump did something nobody else in history has ever done. He didn't accept the results of the election. And
he started to say that. Biden started to say that. And then the reporter corrected him. That's not what I'm asking about. And he's like, all right. Switch complete opposite of what he was just saying about Trump and the Republicans, and just the exact opposite. But you have to understand the bills that he's talking about not passing are about bringing people sandwiches in line. If you think not getting a free sandwich is going to stop somebody from voting, that's on them. Bring your own sandwich. That's the big debate here in Georgia anyway. Because you're not allowed to give out gifts in line, including drinks and food and whatever, buttons, anything. You're not allowed to campaign while somebody's standing in line to vote. That should be a no-brainer. That's not.
And I mean, that's only within 150 feet of the polling place too. Which we all know that Harris broke that during the 2020 election because she was standing next to a line. Campaigning while people were in line. I remember that clip.
Yeah. Well, and here in Georgia, there's so many polling places. The only time I think I've ever waited in line for more than 20 minutes is 2018, when Stacey Abrams won the governorship. That's that midterm in 2018. I think it was maybe an hour in line, maybe an hour and a half. It was the longest line I had ever encountered. But even for the 2020 election, it was 20 minutes I was in and out.
Are you ready to listen to Savannah Guthrie and Kamala?
Oh, yes, I love listening to Kamala. She's not condescending at all.
No, that she is not. Let's listen.
Let's talk about another comment the president made. He openly cast doubt on whether the 2022 midterm elections would be legitimate. He said it all depends, which is astonishing to hear a president question whether our elections will be legitimate. We've heard it before, but not from this president. Is he really concerned that we may not have fair and free elections?
The president has been consistent on this issue, and the issue at hand, I was there last night in the chamber of the Senate, and the issue is that there are two bills, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act, that have been the solution that has been offered to address the fact that around our country, states have put in place laws that are purposely making it more difficult for the American people to vote. Laws which will be felt by at least 55 million Americans, regardless of their party affiliation, their race, their gender, or their geographic location.
Well, to the point, though, because those bills were debated. The bills were debated and they didn't pass.
If I may finish, if I may finish.
But the specific question, if you don't mind, does he think, now that these bills haven't been passed, that the 22 midterms won't be legitimate or fair or free?
Let's not conflate issues. So what we are looking at, and the topic of so much debate last night, was that we as America cannot afford to allow this blatant erosion of our democracy, and in particular, the right of all Americans who are eligible to vote to have access to the ballot unfettered. That is the topic of the conversation, and let's not be distracted by the political gamesmanship when what is truly at stake are issues like whether Americans with disability have the opportunity to vote by mail, whether a single parent has the opportunity with 3 kids in the back seat to vote by dropping off their ballot in a Dropbox instead of having to stand in line with those 3 kids for hours. These are the issues that are at stake.
And the president laid a lot of
and pivotal issues in terms of our democracy. We had an extensive conversation about foreign policy, Savannah.
Yeah,
well, I've met with
And I mean, I love to listen to this and hear that they're not, like, Kamala Harris is not letting Savannah get the question off, and she's not answering the question either. You look like you have something to say.
Oh, she is such a condescending bitch. This is what we're talking about for Savannah. Like, oh, and the whole, let me finish. I was speaking. Like, bitch, shut up. She just rubs me the wrong way on so many levels. And I'm sorry if my mic is still peeking out because I'm yelling right now because I'm just so pissed off at this woman. Okay, the things that she said, the examples that she gave are not even what was shot down. People can still get a mail-in ballot if they have a disability. Nobody's trying to get rid of that. You can still, the Dropbox thing, you don't have to have a Dropbox. You have a mailbox. The mailman will come to your house here, where I live anyway, and pick up your mail every single day. And if you live in a city, you can walk down to the corner and stick it in the little slot. Nobody's eroding anybody's freedoms here. And the way these examples that she's using, people have not read this bill. People are watching this bitch on TV and thinking that's what Republicans are trying to do, make it so disabled people can't vote. That's ridiculous. That's more retarded than anything I've heard in a very long time. And I've been on the internet today, so I've heard a lot of retarded stuff. Sorry. But, did you have something to say about this? Because I'm going to blow my top.
Well, I mean, you listen to this too, and she is avoiding the specific question off of this, and that is the question of, does President Biden think that the upcoming 2022 election is going to be acceptable or not? And I think that they're setting themselves up.
They're putting
because they know they're going to get their asses kicked
in place to say, oh, it wasn't free and fair. We need a recount. They're going to do the exact same stuff that Republicans did in 2020 for obvious reasons, because in that case, there was actually some shenanigans going on, which honestly, if we're going to be honest here, shenanigans happen in every single election all the time.
Except for 2020. Freest and fairest election.
You can say that because it's your channel, and I know you don't want to talk about it, but it's bullshit, and you know it. And every single election going back before we were born. I mean, there may have been free and fair elections in the distant past, in the beginning of this country, but in our lifetime, there has not been one that hasn't been fucked around with in some way. And really, what we need to be talking about is less people having voting rights. Less people should have the right to vote. You need to have skin in the game to have a vote of how this country is run. So if you're not a business owner, if you're not a homeowner, if you don't contribute something to this country, you should not get a say in who's making the rules around here. Also, repeal the 19th.
One of the things, well, because of this, it was shortly after this too, is that both the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act both failed in the Senate. Now, as of right now, every Democrat got into lockstep and voted for both of these bills. So even Manchin and Sinema got on board with it. But of course, the big argument came over the fact that they could not carve out a filibuster segment for this, meaning that they did fail. Now, Chuck Schumer, in the very end, changed his vote to bring the vote to 49 to 51 of fail for both of the voting rights. And he did that on purpose, because that means that this can be redebated and brought back down to the floor once again, obviously. So it was strategic to him to have it fail in the way that they did.
I mean, you're the political person. I don't know how all this works. All I know is that it's all bullshit. and we shouldn't be debating it again anyway. It didn't pass. Let's move on, and let's bring up a bill that requires people to have, like, I don't know, a job in order to vote.
Yeah, you really think that they're going to do that? No, they want more people to vote who don't have jobs.
No, they're not going to do that. But if I was in charge, which I shouldn't be, because women should not be in charge of anything. But if I was in charge, there would be some different things being debated on the floor. Let's just put it that way.
Did you see what they're doing with Kyrsten Sinema now at this point too?
Are they stalking her in a bathroom again, or?
No, they actually censured her. The Arizona Democratic Party has come out and given her a formal reprimand and a censure.
What?
About the fact that she wouldn't vote to carve out the filibuster for this Voting Rights Act.
How is that? I mean, you understand the politics more than I do. Explain to me how she's not allowed to vote however the fuck she wants to vote. She's not required to vote with her party. She's not required to vote along party lines. How can that even be? I don't understand what the censure is, or what it means, or what it does.
It's a formal punishment. Liz Cheney actually got censured by Wyoming GOP for voting to impeach Trump. And Adam Kinzinger in Illinois did the same thing. He got punished by the Illinois GOP for his vote for the impeachment. Both of them got the same treatment there, which was interesting because like people like Brooklyn Dad Defiant came out and said that, oh well, they're censuring, they're punishing their party members because they voted their conscience to impeach Trump, and the GOP is a cult because they're holding people accountable for voting their conscience. But the same person's out here praising the Arizona Democrat Party for their censure of Sinema.
What is a censure? What you said it's a punishment, but
it's a formal reprimand.
So it's like if you get a letter in your personal file at work or something like that, like you were late 20 times or something, like what? Like it doesn't actually do anything to them, right?
I believe that depends on the state. I believe that sometimes there's a fine involved if you go against your party in state. I believe that that depends on state to state.
How is this legal? Like this seems like it should be illegal. Like they shouldn't be able to, like you should be able to go represent your people that are in your district. And if your people that are in your district do not align with what the party said, the wide scope Democrat or Republican Party think is right, then you should not be censured for that. Your job is to represent your constituents.
Yeah, but like Liz Cheney didn't do that. The people of Wyoming said, no, we don't want you to vote for the impeachment of Trump. The GOP of Wyoming said, no, don't do this. And then she went and did it anyway. As far as Sinema goes, the Democratic Party wanted her to vote for the filibuster carve-out, but she didn't do that. Now, representing the people of Arizona, you are correct on that, because I don't believe that they wanted the carve-out. The woman that, or the guy that got involved with this, and the woman that actually did the leading for the charge, said that, Kyrsten Sinema committed a great sin because, this woman is down on the floor every day ensuring the right to vote for all Arizonans, which is bullshit, because if that's true, because the woman involved was a state legislator, then she would be on the floor in Phoenix fighting for this, rather than depending on Kyrsten Sinema to change the rules in the Senate to do it on a national level.
I just don't, this is all, like I said, I'm not as into the politics. I'm more into like when we first started, I'm more into the cultural aspects of the way things happen. But I just think that this is a terrible idea to even have censures for any reason for anyone. If you vote somebody in, the punishment is if they don't do what you want, you don't vote for them next time. We need to shorten the term limits so you're not stuck with somebody for 6 years. We need to or a lifetime appointment. We need to shorten the term limits, and the punishment is you don't vote for them next time.
Well, speaking of culture, there's actually...
I'd change a lot of shit, apparently.
Well, the cultural aspect of it is actually, it's interesting to bring this up here because I believe it was, and I don't know what it was that he did, but Robert Reich, I know that he did something with the Democrat Party under Clinton. He was, I believe, a commerce secretary there. But Robert Reich, who's like 4'10", by the way, I just wanted to put that out there. Apparently, and he didn't deny it, he put this tweet out and then deleted it almost immediately. Some good screen cap artists were able to find this here. Robert Reich tweeted out 1/20/22, tonight Republican senators lined up to shake Kyrsten Sinema's hands. Democratic senators should have given her the backs of their hands.
What does that mean, the backs of their hands?
What do you think that means?
Like flip them up, flip her off?
No, casual domestic violence.
Oh. Like
casual domestic violence because the woman didn't do what they wanted them to do. Well,
like, let's just be honest. She probably shouldn't be in charge of anything because she's a she.
That's fair. But I mean, working in the parameters that we have here.
No, you can't advocate for domestic violence. What's wrong with this guy? He should be censured. I don't know. Am I using that correctly?
Apparently. Well, he's like 4 foot. That's the most interesting part. I've seen the picture of the dude. The dude's like 4'10".
Really?
And Kyrsten Sinema's like 5'6".
Wow.
So I mean, if he really wants to get the stepladder out there and give the back,
you have to jump up. Like surfing a volleyball. Man.
But he did come back and he tried to walk this back here. This one hasn't been deleted from Robert Reich's official Twitter account that says, last night I deleted a tweet because it was widely misinterpreted and distorted by conservative media. Back of the hand is an idiom for rebuke. I wholeheartedly condemn violence against women.
He's so full of shit. He said what he said. I'd have more respect for this guy if he tweeted out the next day, I said what I said. Like, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, the apologies need to stop.
Well, I mean, he'd probably look up to you and say, oh, of course I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, okay?
I mean, I don't obviously endorse what he said about backhanding Kyrsten Sinema. However, don't apologize. You're just making it worse. Just shut up about it. Just forget about it. The news cycle is so quick these days that it'll blow over in a day and a half, and you never have to talk about it again. Bringing it up again just extends that day and a half to 4 days or 5 days.
Now, I remember from the live chat this morning, you took the red-haired bobblehead's advice over the weekend here.
Yes. A good friend of ours happened to leave some libations at my home when she was here last, and I partook.
So, red-haired bobblehead got on The View this weekend to tell us how we should deal with, as Americans, the failure of the voting rights bill. Her suggestion would be to go back and take a kickboxing class, and then drink a margarita and get up and go to work on Monday and continue to fight the good fight.
I believe it's the situation that the Democrats have put us in, with people being stuck in their homes, losing their jobs. People who have addictions have suffered, addictions and depression have suffered immensely because of the situation that they put us in. So for her to suggest having any sort of alcoholic beverage to the American people at large is inappropriate.
That's actually fair, and I think you're fully correct on that too, because I mean, you and I can sit here and talk about, I'll go out and throw some energy drink in with a cup of vodka and bottoms up and go away. But I mean, I've also gone to work every day throughout this entire thing. You've gone to work every day throughout this entire thing.
Absolutely.
We're still at a point where, I mean, Biden will come out and say that he's created all these jobs right now. No, we're still at net zero jobs.
Yeah.
Especially with the population growth over the last year.
It's like I was saying, was I saying this? I said this to somebody sometime. I don't remember when, but you can't take credit for fixing something that you broke in the first place. You broke this shit. So taking credit for the jobs that are created now, that are coming back, you can't take credit for that. What are you doing? I also would like to point out that our friend left really good tequila at my house. Like it's I'm not a tequila drinker, but man, that's good stuff.
I believe I partook out of that bottle.
Probably. I think we all probably did.
So that's what we're doing with the bill, and they're trying right now to push it back through. They gutted out a NASA bill, a NASA funding bill,
Yeah.
and then rewrote it with the John Lewis Voting Rights Act because it's already passed back through the House and the Senate. Now it's on amendment, so it can come to the Senate floor without debate, without being filibustered. They're desperate.
They're always desperate. But yeah, especially now for sure.
All right.
And for them to pass the blame onto the American people too is just a little crazy. Like it's your job, Mr. Smith, sitting at home on your sofa. It's your job to fight. No, that's what we elected you for. That's your job, bitch.
Yeah. Let's talk just a bit about the Ukraine. Let's just finish up what we have here, and then we'll finish off with some live chat here. So that was one of the other things that came out of this big press conference here. It was towards the end, I believe. Do I have the clip? I thought I had the clip.
I think I saw it in the show notes.
I don't know if I have the actual video clip of him saying it. I thought I did. I thought I set it up. Apparently I didn't. But Biden said during the major press conference that if Russia were to have any sort of incursion, just a small incursion, then there wouldn't be any repercussions. They'd have a discussion, but they wouldn't bring the army out to this.
I mean, you're just giving Putin the playbook is what you're doing.
Which, he's done that right from off the beginning. And then over the weekend, the whole thing, well, pretty much blew up in his face. Did you see, well, I know you were there in the contemporary live chat this morning, but did you see where some of the problems have arisen off of this at this point?
I don't know exactly what's going on there.
So,
I'm sure there's issues, but...
So over the weekend, Russia has allegedly, and of course there's been no confirmation of this, and it's been pointed out that with the rewriting of history for January 6th, and there might actually not be anything happening out there, but the official reports are saying that Russia has now begun a troop buildup onto the Ukrainian border here, preparing for a, quote, small incursion. The Biden admin has ramped up troop levels in various NATO countries that are on the Russian border, including just outside of Belarus, Finland. Poland has seen an increase at this point. So all the stuff that's on the edge of the Iron Curtain or on the inside of the Iron Curtain, and it does look like there is a ramp up of tensions.
This could be the start of World War III.
Yeah, I listened to a Tim Pool video on that earlier today while I was driving and getting the snow off my truck. That's actually one of the things that a lot of the commentators on the right have brought up at this point is there's a good possibility that this is the start of this, and part of this is because they don't want people talking about the domestic agenda, the domestic side, the domestic failures anymore.
We need a war. I said that at the beginning of the show. We need a war because midterms are coming up. And if we want things to go the way we want them to go, we need a war, is what they're saying in their heads. Yeah. Not what I'm saying. I don't want a war. Let's just make sure, get that clear. I think it's ridiculous that we're even involved in any of this when there's stuff that needs to be done here.
No, and that's understandable here. I've raised questions to the Ukrainian thing right from the top, going all the way back into the Trump presidency, because what was he impeached for the first time? The phone call with Vladimir Zelensky.
He was impeached so many times I can't keep track.
There's only 2.
I thought it was 3.
2.
Were they trying for a third? Was that it?
Well, they were out of time for a third. No, they did the Zelensky phone call and then the January 6th selfie fest were the 2.
I don't know. I was thinking that there was 3, but you pay more attention than I do. But they're trying to, it's like almost as if they're trying to make Russia into a boogeyman after the fact. Like we were all supposed to be like, oh, Russia bad. And we're all like, well, what has Russia done since the Cold War? Why do we care if he's talking to Russia? Now they are coming up with their reason why.
Well, I mean, I can say yes and no to this strategically. This isn't actually as new as like this month, obviously. But we'll talk about that in just a second. I mean, what's happened this month off this. But I mean, under Obama, Russia invaded the Crimean Peninsula because they wanted a warm water port into the Black Sea. And they're still occupying Crimea right now.
But why do we care about Crimea? Crimea has nothing to do with us.
Some of that comes to agreements that we have made with NATO. And that's the big reason
why
for it.
Why are we a part of NATO? What does NATO do for us? Nothing. They don't do anything for us. Why are we even involved with any of these multi-country global agenda bullshit groups?
Well, we've got to go back to the 60s and 70s to go and have that conversation, because we've been involved with NATO for as long as it is. As long as there's been a NATO that grew out of the Cold War to try to prevent a World War III from happening up at the beginning. But now some of this is coming out to a head.
I don't think we have time to go back to the 60s and work our way from there, because
that
I'm hungry.
Is fair. You're correct. But yeah, I mean, now there is a troop buildup off of this. I do have to wonder too if some of this was, especially given what we heard at the press conference. Oh, if you make a small incursion, then there's not going to be anything except conversation. Was that an invitation to come back and get the small incursion so now we can make the excuse to come back out and do something? And there is a possibility of Russia doing something. Russia has a land army.
Russia's not going to do anything to the United States, though. And I think that's where the disconnect is in my brain. Russia's not going to attack the United States. So why are we getting involved at all? And I know NATO and all that other whatever. But it just, that dude didn't care about the Uyghurs. I don't care about Ukraine.
To me, it's something that I think that it's worth paying attention to, just because of who's in the commander-in-chief seat. And even going back to what Elaine and I talked about at the beginning of the Biden presidency, all the way back after Inauguration Day, both of us went out and bought various stocks and various defense contractors. Not because, at the time, her and I were both as anti-war as you could get for any reason whatsoever, but when smart money comes your way, wouldn't you go back and invest?
Yeah, for sure.
And now the commander-in-chief, or whoever's pulling the commander-in-chief strings, is coming out there, and they're looking for a war. They're looking for a hot war right now because, that's, they give out their money, their kickbacks to the defense contractor buddies, who I'm hoping to make a little bit of money off of the stock sale from at some point here. You okay?
I forgot how to breathe for a second.
But, there are other sides of this that are going on, too. I don't know, and a lot of people are bringing up Taiwan and China right now, which Taiwan claims to be the legitimate government of China, just they're in exile right now. But the mainland China is not going to do anything on its own. But if all these forces come in and start, bringing in, and Europe gets involved with Ukraine and the Eastern Bloc and the Iron Curtain, nobody's looking. Does China come out and start launching jets over Taiwan and bring us back into a second theater? That's the thing that I'm starting to worry about. And then, here we have the little fat fuck over in North Korea.
He will jump on
red
that.
Rocket.
If we're at war in Ukraine and in China at the same time, North Korea will take the opportunity to fuck around, and we won't have the troops enough for him to find out. We probably will, but he's going to think that we're not gonna.
Did you see Fanning's tweet the other day saying, put your mouth where your ass is or something like that, and showing the what was it, the recruitment poster?
I did not see that.
If you voted for Biden, now is the time to go up and show your support for him. Go join the military. Join his
It's
little
true. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I know that there's some things to talk about with this, and one of the big things to go with this too. I mean, there's geopolitics that go along with this too. But like the State Department is actually getting involved with this, which I don't know if they're making a mountain out of a molehill, or if they're actually if they see something that we don't see on intel reports. But I know that as of this point right now, the Ukraine is on a full-on do not travel warning for U.S. citizens. And Biden himself has actually been slammed at this point because now he's coming out with reports that he can't evacuate every U.S. citizen out of the Ukraine.
Yeah. Sorry, I just almost died. I didn't hear what you were saying.
The State Department, and I don't know what intel that Anthony Blinken has that the rest of us don't have, but the Ukraine is now under a do not travel warning, obviously.
Yeah.
No U.S. citizens travel to Ukraine. All embassy staff still has to be over there, but all embassy families are ordered to either take commercial flights or come out to Germany or another U.S. ally to get out of the Ukraine because they're talking hot war.
Yeah.
And Biden himself is saying that he doesn't think he can evacuate all the U.S. citizens from the Ukraine, which is, I mean, where have we heard that before?
Yeah, it reminds me of August. I'm having deja vu. Like, this is exactly what happened in August with Afghanistan.
So, yeah.
People need to get out now.
Yeah, they do. They need to get out in, like, yesterday.
If World War III pops off, then every American needs to get home ASAP.
Mm-hmm. There's one other aspect to this side that I wanted to bring up just to see where this goes, because there's been a little bit of a dispute right now. Reading from NPR just briefly off of this. Get this up here. Who is Yevgeny Murayev? I don't know how to pronounce that. But the UK MI6 has come out and told us that this particular candidate, who is in, I believe, the top 10 for possible successors to the prime ministry of the Ukraine, or presidency of the Ukraine, I should say, not prime ministry in their country, is somebody who would be installed by Russia if the hot war comes back out and gets started here. Now, Murayev has been friendly to Russian causes throughout his career. He's 45 years old. He has been a politician both on and off for the Russian side, the pro-Russian side on the Maidan Revolution. He has made a pro-Russian news site for the Ukraine. And he is polling at a 6.3% support among prospective candidates, which on a stacked system, I mean, that's not huge, but that's not insignificant either. But Russia's denying, of course, that they have anything to do with him, and he's even saying that he himself is under sanction from Russia. Personally.
So what do you think? I mean, do you think this is true with the sanctions from Russia, or do you think he's actually an operative?
I don't know. He comes from the Doma region, which is the region that is in dispute right now.
Yeah.
I don't see him having support, though. 6.3%. Unless
but that could change if Putin, promotes him, or not Putin, your Ukraine guy. If he starts getting promoted by Ukrainian people and Zelensky and all of them, the 6.3 could change overnight.
I don't know. There is a part of me I feel like I saw a lot of this coming. From the very perfect phone call. Remember, by the way, Biden hadn't thrown his hat in the ring yet when the alleged perfect phone call happened. And in fact, Biden didn't throw his hat into the ring until 6 months after the alleged phone call happened.
Yeah. I think I remember you talking about that on Contemporary all those years back.
Yeah, and because it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But Hunter Biden had dealings in the Ukraine. Then, the Donald came out and said, hey, can we look into this? And then all of a sudden now the Donald is going after a potential political ally. And then, hey, here's months later, now he's thrown his hat into the ring. Let's go back and impeach him.
Isn't it interesting that where all this is popping off right now happens to be the Ukraine, where Hunter Biden happened to have all this scandal and the job and whatever go down? And wasn't there another recent president? Was it Clinton who somebody else had a child or somebody who worked in the Ukraine or somebody that they're related to? It just all seems to revolve around the Ukraine and the Democrats. And this just happens to be where all this stuff is happening.
Well, and the Ukraine isn't that far from Kosovo and Bosnia either, that was the big crisis that happened under Clinton.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, you're correct on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm not sure where this goes at the summit, but this is, the theater that we need to watch, because this is going to be a big shape for what happens in the midterms. And go to look at RCP right now, and Biden on the aggregate is at 41% approval, 53% disapproval. He's at a 12.9% spread between the two. That's not insignificant.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. And honestly, if we're going to be looking at theaters, I'd rather just go see a movie or something like that, because all of this is hurting my brain, because it's so much and there's so many links to connect. And the more you go down the rabbit hole, the deeper it gets. And it's all very suspicious.
It is. You're absolutely correct off of that. We have a little bit of surprise stupidity to finish the show up with too. So I thought that you've probably seen this one already at this point. So I'm not going to come back out and say that this is going to be a massive surprise with you. But I thought that you would enjoy talking about this just a little bit more, because, like you said, you are well more versed on the culture than I am. I know political policy. You know culture. So
I spend a lot of time on the internet. Too much, if you ask me.
The culture war has come to a head in the candy aisle at this point here. Reading from The Hill, first off of their Twitter, then we'll actually read the article that goes along with this here. M&M's characters are going to become more inclusive. That's right. You will have your full inclusivity from your bag of M&Ms at this point. Reading from The Hill, M&M's characters to become more inclusive. Candy is about to get more inclusive, with the maker of M&M's announcing the famed characters are getting modern makeovers and will have more nuanced personalities. Mars Incorporated, the company behind the colorful candy-coated chocolates, announced Thursday a global commitment to creating a world where everyone feels they belong and society is inclusive. As part of the new mission to increase the sense of belonging for 10 million people around the world, by 2025, Mars says the M&M's characters, who serve as mascots of sorts for the brand, would be receiving a fresh new look. One of the ones that were brought forward here is the green M&M, previously seen in ads posing seductively and strutting her stuff in white go-go boots, will now sport a pair of sneakers. A description of the green candy on the M&M's website says she enjoys being a hype woman for my friends. I think we will all win when we see more women in leading roles, so I'm happy to take on the part of supportive friends when they succeed. The green M&M said on the promotional site. Another character, the brown M&M, described her motto as not bossy, just the boss.
I mean, does candy need a personality? Is this something that's necessary? Like, I like peanut M&Ms a lot. Like, I really like the peanut ones, and I like the crispy ones, I think are my favorite. I don't want to hate M&Ms. M&Ms are delicious, and they're small, so when you're on a diet, if you have a sweet tooth, you could just have a couple, they're not that bad for you as far as candy goes. And, I mean, do we really need a tranny M&M? Is this necessary? Like, do we need one that is wearing heels and one that's a boss and one that's wearing tennis shoes and one that's Like, I just really all we need is them for the be different colors. Like, that's it. That's all we need.
And that's the thing that always got me too, especially when I first started hearing about it. They are literally a rainbow.
Yeah. There's nothing else. No more needs to be done.
Except they got rid of the green M&M's go-go boots.
Why? I don't even understand the point of that one.
I didn't realize that she was wearing go-go boots until they actually made a big deal out of it. I knew the brown M&M had the high heels and, the seductive look and everything off of that, but I guess I never noticed the green M&M about that.
I never noticed any of the M&Ms, Ed. I knew that there was commercials and that they were cannibals. That's the only thing I knew about the M&Ms is that the M&Ms are cannibals and they have commercials where they do cannibalism. I didn't notice their footwear. I'll tell you that much.
And that seems like one of the weirdest things to...
The green one was kind of slutty too, if I recall correctly. That's it. Slutty cannibals.
I mean, the only thing I know about the characters of the M&Ms is that the crispy one is schizophrenic. I knew that. The orange one. I mean, you could see him in the picture that I have up on there.
I didn't know he was schizophrenic.
Yeah,
I knew that the yellow one's kind of dumb.
Yeah. And I remember I remember when it was just the red regular M&M and the yellow peanut M&M, and that was it.
That's it.
And all I remember is the Santa Claus commercial. He does exist. They do exist. That's the only thing I can remember about their personalities.
The only thing that I remember is that they kept eating each other. Like I think when the brown M&M came out, they ate her and they're like, "Did you eat the new Spokes candy?" And I'm like, "They're cannibals. They're slutty cannibals." Maybe they did need an image update. In my head, the M&Ms are slutty cannibals. So good on them.
That's all I got.
All right.
You want to take us through with some live chat here? Let me see if I can.
I will try. I went to the eye doctor, Ed, this week. And they told me I'm old and I can't see. It's very sad. It kind of broke my heart. So I have to get closer to my computer screen without.
I'm going to see if I can find where I left off here. Wow, we are way the fuck up here. Holy shit.
You guys chatting too much, man.
I am all the way...
No,
especially that helps our algorithm, too.
It really does.
Yeah, I'm all the way back up to 1829.05, which would be 1929.05 to you. So Ron Helton changing the oil, which on mine is almost all the way to the top.
I didn't even realize there's times on the side of this. Can you still hear me? Is it
Yep.
Okay? So
yeah, you're not peeking out anymore. So
I'm just gonna find my place. All right, there it is. Ron Helton. Change the oil. Quest Fanning is letting us know his house is 4,000 square feet. Quit bragging. Good Lord, Quest. Enough with you, with your gold-plated walls, your cathedral ceilings. I'm kidding. He doesn't have gold on his walls. I'm just.
Oh, bullshit, he doesn't. I've seen it.
I mean, not real gold. I commented one time his brick walls look like they were gold bars, just like stacked on top of each other, which would be kind of a badass. That seems like something Trump would do, doesn't it? He's into that gold. Quest and Ron are talking about their house being so big, or Ron saying that Quest house is a large house. And Quest, I think, just invited us all there. He said, always room for friends. So just let us know a date. We'll all be there with bells on.
I think the Red Sox part of me would burst into flames if I set foot in Brooklyn.
Yeah, sports ball bores me. I mean, I'm from Chicago, so I feel the same way about the South Side. Just put it that way. Randy said he even boasted about how long he'd gone and mentioned going longer. I don't know what that's regarding.
I know he was talking about he had to have his gallbladder out, so that could be.
Was surprised. Don't know what this is regarding. This is not good. Purchasing some hard ends. 400 grillion. Randy said a couple single-use masks. Okay, we're talking about the masks that Biden ordered for us all that he's going to pass out. 400 grillion masks. I didn't wear a mask even before the court struck down my state's mask mandate. This is from Goats and Scarves. That's a new name. I don't think I've heard of this person before. Welcome, if you're still here. Ron Helton said, I put me on a pot of black beans. I will be cooking some eggs with green hot salsa. You put the black beans in a bowl and eggs on top. Yum. We're getting recipes over here. That does sound delicious. I'm starving right now. Goats and Scarves. I wonder if that free COVID test is the one where you have to upload it to your smartphone. I don't believe it is. I could be wrong. I think the free COVID tests are the ones that's like a pregnancy test where it shows you the plus or minus right there. I believe. Like I said, I could be wrong, but that's what I understood. Randy said now that 5G is fully active, we're going to see an increase in positive testing, and I'm going to guess the emergence of new variant. Of course, there'll be a new variant, but just remember, kiddos, that the new variant is actually whatever flu was going to come out anyway in 2022. The Omicron was the 2021 flu, the Delta was the 2020 flu, and COVID-19 was the COVID-19 flu. Allegedly, supposedly, maybe not. Sorry, Susan. Wes Vanning said tests would have been useful back when the FDA was telling physicians that testing patients was illegal. How backwards was that in the limit? Let's scroll here. Ron Helton said, whatever is going around is everywhere now. Isn't that the truth? Ron says, I've gotten infected with the new stuff, or I have not gotten infected with the new stuff yet since I had the coof in February of 2020. I bet you won't get infected because I bet you have that sweet, sweet natural immunity. Nephilim says, if they don't test everyone now, I will know. How will I know if they're sick? It's a good question. Old Bear is here and says, I don't understand the need for testing. Neither do I, unless you're actually sick and you actually have like a grandparent or something that has, you don't want to kill your grandma. That's the only reason for testing. If you actually are experiencing symptoms and you have somebody in your life that could die if they get it, that's the only reason for it. And if that person is in your life, they should have the vaccine now by now anyway. So it really doesn't matter anyway. Goats and Scarf says, is this the one of those 500,000 Hunter Biden paintings I've heard about on the wall?
I don't know. Maybe it's this one. Maybe it's yours. I don't know.
I think it's that turkey, that hand turkey. It does look like Hunter Biden's work, doesn't it?
I'm going to tell my niece you said that.
It's beautiful. Randy said, all the best dress shoes I ever have seen have been slip-ons. No need for Biden to remember how to tie his shoelaces. This is true. Ron says, I think these strains were intentionally released. Cruise ships, India, Iran, China, all appear to be different strains. Biden is nails on a chalkboard. Agreed. Quest Fanning says, Old Bear had said about the chalkboard. Quest says they need a reconciliation because they literally cannot win on merit. Randy said, I still say there should be a budget reconciliation without, I still say that there shouldn't be a budget reconciliation without an approved budget. I don't know why I keep mixing up should and shouldn't or does and doesn't in this chat. We went on a little bit about my microphone, and then we're going to skip all that because we decided we're going to deal with that after. I apologize if the sound was like nails on the chalkboard like Joe Biden to you guys. MK Ultra said, Katie, did you listen to No Agenda? I don't know what No Agenda is. Life to the Max said, to MK, my bro keeps telling me to listen to No Agenda. Do you know what this No Agenda thing is?
I don't, unfortunately.
I don't either. I might make myself a little note. So No Agenda sounds like something I might want to listen to. Quest said, be brave enough to fuck with everyone else's freedom. Atlanta Braves? Quest said. MK said, Adam Curry makes the same point Katie's making. I'm not sure what point that was. But from time to time, I'm like a broken clock. Every now and again, I'm like really smart. Most of the time, super dumb blonde. Life to the Max said, yeah, sketchy. They can't use the other F word. Freedom, no push-ups required. I don't do push-ups when I say the word fuck because, I mean, I don't want to look like Marjorie Taylor Greene with those, like, guns.
All right, I'm going to take some of these here.
Okay,
Randy says the whole thing was blown so out of proportion, it's not even written in legalese. Randy says, I saw a woman lawyer who posted that she would defend you in case of being arrested for handing somebody water. Let's see. Ron Helton says, call Harris out on her nonsense. No one is being denied the right to vote. These damn politicians. Fanning says, Kate and I stood for 3 hours in line with folks not voting the way that we would. All congenital. But it was for a reason. The popular vote. My popular vote. Old Bear says, they always do this crap. All the Democrats do the same shit Kamala did. They lie nonstop. Helton says JFK's election was corrupt. Old man Kennedy admitted that in his memoirs, which I read. Let's see. Old Bear says the politicians conflate and twist and lie. They lie, and the media continues to carry their lies. Randy says the same way you don't need a filibuster-proof vote to vote out the filibuster. There are some nuances to that. There are rules that you have to do in order to get a filibuster change out, but it involves the House, so there are some problems there. Mr. Zed has apologized to peeps for not showing Mrs. Zed the back of the hand, what the back of the hand means.
Hey. Come on now, no domestic violence.
Fanning says, I'm a big-time drinker, but agree 100% that joke is inappropriate. Mr. Zed says, I taught her to shoot, not silly enough to poke the hornets.
Very true. I'm a pretty good shot, too, and he knows it.
Old Bear says, start this war because it's the only way to fix the global collapse. They're repeating history. Randy says, I've been making that point since 2016 about Russia. Most people know Russia is bad, but can't think of anything after the Cold War. Seawall is here. Says the only allies the USA should have is Japan, South Korea, and Britain. The first two to deal with China, and the third because Britain actually has been a decent ally to the US for a long time. Since 1812, since they got their asses handed to them the last time. Apparently there was a novel that people were supposed to read that was shared from Seawall to Quest Fanning while they were in person. Let's see. Marie Maybe Golay is here. Starts with a P, she says. I didn't see what that was. Life to the Max says, KTZed, we said at the same time. Marie says, Almond Joy and Mounds probably shouldn't do that. Sewell says, they're M&Ms. Randy says, I pointed out since they don't have junk, technically there's neither no representation or it's all LGBT. Life to the Max asked, is Quest part Scrooge McDuck? MK Ultra says, go White Sox. Lame. Red Sox are the only true colored socks.
Anybody who's a White Sox fan can get the fuck out. Not joking. I am joking. I don't care. I don't care about sports.
Life to the Max says, Katie with bad microphone is greater than Biden any day.
Oh.
Apparently No Agenda is a podcast. I did look it up here, so...
I made myself a note so I can look it up later.
Apparently, No Agenda is basically a combination of Contemporary and the Daily Ignoramus. The hosts aren't as cool, says MK.
Does sound like it's right up our alley, doesn't it?
It does. And I think that's it. I think that's all that we have.
Awesome. Great show tonight.
Yeah.
We're awesome.
We are awesome. Good crowd tonight, too. So
pat yourself on the back there. There you go.
I think I'm going to have some meatloaf here in just a bit here. But first, we got to throw some music up here and head out of here for the night here. So I do want to take the time and thank everybody for coming in here chatting with us in the live chat. Thank you, KTZed, for coming back every week to come back and discuss the news with me and have the conversation at the point between politics and culture and what happens between the two there. It's always helpful. Always helps us to get to the bottom of everything and see what works best for the people that are here. If you are just catching up with us live right now, you can catch us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com on the audio platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify. You can go find us at any of those locations. And if you want to finish the conversation with me, you can find me in the Discord that has been interspersed with the live chat. You can find me over on Twitter. That's at EdsBlog Twitter with a one in place of the I. Go check me out in either one of those places. Come back and hang out. Have the conversation with me. Add articles in to see if you can get the things that are important to you added to either one of the shows there. If you want to finish the conversation with my wonderful co-host, KTZed, tell them where they can find you and finish the conversation with you.
Find me on Twitter at KTZma'am. Is that right? Yeah, KTZed ma'am, or on Instagram at KT.Zed.
Go and check that out. Also into the Discord as well. Come back and finish the conversation. I know you just had a little bit of a conversation with somebody seeking some legal help down in Georgia, so there's always the possibility to come back and have that conversation as well. And with that, we are going to head out of here for the week. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for checking out turnsofpagesproductions.com and the upcoming Brit Project with Sean Hickman, The Porch Boys, The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, and The R-Rated Conservative. Go check out all of those shows. They are moving around on various nights, so go and check all of them out. And as I always say, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. KTZed, lead them out with some last words.
Have a great night, everybody. Bye.
Take care.